very good morning and welcome to Athavan newspaper highlights. Today is Saturday, 2nd of April 2016. I am Edward Udedas Devasagayam Pillai with the highlights of today's newspapers. Today we have Daily Mirror, Daily News and Ceylon Today for the highlights. Firstly, let's have a look on the highlights of Daily Mirror. Indo-Lanka kidney racket. 8 suspects in custody had sold their kidneys. An Indian police investigation had revealed the involvement of some of the doctors and the hospitals in India and Sri Lanka where these transplants were allegedly conducted. Colombo Crime Division informed court that 6 out of the 8 suspects arrested in connection with the kidney racket have had their kidneys removed surgically. The CID made this statement to Colombo Additional Magistrate Nishantha Piris yesterday based on confirmation received from the Colombo Judicial Medical Officers who examined the suspects. The detectives said they found cash memos and laboratory reports and diagnostic reports issued by the Lanka Hospital Diagnostic Limited of Pelhengoda Road, Narayanpeta to the 8 suspects who were presently under detention for overstaying their visas. The CID had also recovered francs and letterheads belonging to some Indian attorneys, doctors and hospitals which the police had sought Interpol assistance to identify the authority of those documents and francs. Another headline says, CID to grill GL today. The Criminal Investigation Department will record a statement from former External Affairs Minister GL Piris today at 10 o'clock over his remarks about the discovery of suicide jackets, explosives and some ammunition at a house in Chavagacheri, Jaffna recently. The former minister said there was speculation that these were intended for Colombo and the authorities concerned should investigate it thoroughly. Cabinet spokesman Gayantha Karunatilaka at a cabinet briefing said the former minister should be questioned over what he said. Asked for comments, Professor Piris said he was delighted to give a statement to the CID and asked whether this was the government's priority when the national security was at stake. Another highlight says, Google loon balloons in Sri Lanka airspace. 2 Google loon balloons have entered the Sri Lankan airspace, setting stage for all Sri Lankans to enjoy 4G technology. Digital Technology Minister Haran Fernando said yesterday. The minister said Sri Lankans will be able to enjoy 4G technology in 2 months when the Google loon projects become fully operational and internet charges will then be reduced by 50%. However, he said the project is still at a testing level in Sri Lanka. Biggest heroin haul busted at sea. The largest ever heroin haul in the sea, 101 kilo of heroin was nabbed by the Sri Lanka Navy and the Police Narcotic Bureau in a joint operation carried out in the sea of southern Sri Lanka on Wednesday, the Navy said yesterday. Issuing a statement, the Navy said search operations are still continuing to identify the culprits involved in the smuggling by Sri Lankan, Pakistani and Afghanistan agents in collaboration. A foreign ship owned by the smugglers, a Pakistani and 10 Iranian nationals were arrested in the raid. Secondly, let's move to daily news. Former SLPA chairman noticed to appear in court, allegedly employing SLPA workers for election work. Former Sri Lanka Port Authority Chairman Priyath Bandu Vikrama and 2 others were yesterday noticed to appear in court on May 27 by Colombo Additional Magistrate Nishantha Piris for allegedly causing 65 million rupees unlawful loss to the government by employing 319 employees of the Ports Authority for election work during the 2015 January presidential election. CCD investigations reveal 6 of 8 arrested Indians sold kidneys. Another highlight says, Dilan's alleged remark about PM, senior UNP ministers to complain to President. A group of senior UNP ministers are to lodge a complaint to President Maithripala Sirisena against Highways State Minister Dilan Pereira for allegedly insulting Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe by equaling him to a common Maradana thug. They are hoping to request the President to take stern action against State Minister Dilan Pereira for ridiculing a fellow member of the government, for that matter the Prime Minister of the Cabinet of Ministers. Legal action against 1,050 mosquito breeders. Health authorities have taken legal action against 1,050 mosquito breeders during the first 3 days of countrywide National Mosquito Control Week, a health ministry spokesman said. And the highlight says, Paris rocked by explosion. An apartment building has been partially destroyed in Paris after a reported gas explosion in the city of Paris yesterday. Local media reports said emergency services were called to a fire in a ground floor apartment around 12:20 p.m. local time. Finally, let's move to Ceylon Today. The main headline of the Ceylon Today says, Lanka, Maldives opts to nab drug lord. Top-level cooperation between Colombo and Malay has been initiated in an effort to nab the mastermind behind a big-time drug peddler who had been smuggling drugs into Sri Lanka through Pakistan, a senior police source said. He said discussions were on between the two governments in an effort to nab the kingpin behind the notorious smuggler who has been plying the trade between Pakistan and Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan Police Narcotic Bureau has copied to its Maldivian counterpart all information in its possession on this mastermind. And the highlight says, Suicide Jacket 5 years old. The suicide jacket discovered in Chavakacheri recently is nearly 5 years old, a terrorism investigations division probe has found. Police said the suspect apprehended in connection with the discovery is still being interrogated. And the highlight says, boost for UNP union leaders. The United National Party will shortly effect changes to the party's political administrative structure to accommodate young aspirants to leadership by creating 4 new positions for them. Gang rape in Kekerawa. Kekerawa police arrested several youth aged 20 to 30 years on charges of gang raping a 37-year-old beautician in Kekerawa. The victim was having an affair with one of her attackers who allegedly took her to an abandoned shop and sexually abused her several times along with some of his friends, police said. Police said the suspects were from Batikalo, Kalmunai and Akarepattu. Kekerawa police are conducting further investigations. With that, let's come to an end of today's paper highlights. We will come with more news tomorrow morning. Thanks for listening to Athavan Newspaper Highlights.